Hey everybody, let's get this started. So quarantine's been weird for everybody. One of the ways that I've been killing time since I'm not in my workshop is by building a Star Wars inspired diorama out of trash. Some of the pieces I can't really build, so I ordered for Christmas through Respect the Fet on Etsy a 3D printed Galaxy's Edge inspired drink cart. You know the ones I'm talking about. I ordered the extra accessories and I'll showcase those in just a second. So, included in the kit are the main body, the pieces that attach to it, and then some accessories that I ordered separately, which I'll show off here. Right now I'm very haphazardly chopping away at the bubble wrap, which was nicely done on the main body and the pieces that you attach. So here we have parts of the little sled that slot in, or are supposed to slot in. I'm always honest with my reviews, so I'm just taking a look at the print quality. It's a good quality. It's very heavy. It's not a super hollow print, which I appreciate. The walls are thick. One of the things I did notice is that there seems to have been maybe some lifting off of the print bed on certain pieces and some splitting in the middle of some of the lines. That could do with temperature or somebody bumped the bed, but that's okay. Those little pieces are miniature little beverage containers, like the ones that you can get at the theme park, and those are some crates that are modeled. Now this I thought was super cool. They offered some of the beverages on ice, and the ice is actually little plastic beads that look just like the ice packs at the theme park, so that's like a really cool hack that I'll for sure be using in the future. Right here I'm noticing that there's some shifting in the print layers, like I said, and that's the nature of 3D printing. I'm not disparaging the maker, I'm not putting them down at all. It happens, I understand, and you know, for the cost of this, it's really well done. One thing I did notice is that the tabs seem bigger than the slots, or the slots seem to have printed smaller than they were supposed to. I don't know which it was. Once I've taken a look at some of the things and caught them in the right lights, I did do a little bit of sanding with a nail file, and then I'm ready to get some primer on these. It was above average warm outside, so I was able to get the primer on these with no problem. There's a little pro tip for you. I soak my cans in hot tap water for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I shake them for a solid 2 minutes outside just to get everything stirred up and make sure it's all good to go. One of the ways I'm trying to be a better maker is learning to not hold things while I paint them, so I don't have paint-soaked hands, and here I have attached it with some painter's tape to a stick, just a regular craft stick. They were like $1.25 at Michael's years ago, and I bought a huge amount. I kind of take this off camera a bit here because I'm trying to catch the best lighting outside, and, you know, the sun's going down, so my apologies, it happens. Now, I'm pretty satisfied at this point. I'm just dusting a couple of spots that I thought maybe I had missed, giving it a good look. You can see me kind of hesitate before I sprayed there because I wanted to make sure that I was getting all the nooks and crannies where there needed to be primer, because some locations were going to have things attached. They didn't necessarily need to have the heaviest amount of primer. So I'm all set. I set my can down and I bring this bad boy inside to dry. Now, while that's drying, I've taken to work on this. I've determined that these pieces, these tabs, just will not fit into the slots that they're required to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use my snips that normally are reserved for cutting the supports off 3D prints and taking some models off of sprues, clip that down, doing a little bit of sanding, and then I have some Sintra that's from some of my model railroad builds and some of my model building, and I just cut strips of that and used it as attach points, and also added a little bit of decorative trim in the areas where the 3D print bed had shifted and made little gaps. Here you can see I did a real nice job of covering up and just verifying everything. I'm kind of turning it in the light and just showing it off to the camera so I can see through almost a second set of eyes how it looks and not just my own. And here I want to show you what I did after I cut those pieces off. I made a little strip that's going to be the bonding bumper in between the two, and then I'm going to use another model making trick that I've learned. So adding that piece of styrene in between the two pieces means that that's a new point of failure. So what I did was basically make a cement out of superglue and baking soda, and that creates like a super strong bond that instantly cures, that's also sandable, kind of like Mondo, but a little bit stronger and way quicker and a little bit cheaper. I placed the pieces together, I put the glue down, I scooped the baking soda onto it, smooth it out just a little bit because it cures super fast, and then I just get about to sanding it after I've tapped off the excess baking soda onto a paper towel or a piece of card or napkin, whatever's on the table to keep it clean. It's important to stop and take a break and get some food in you. I had a jerk chicken patty and a seltzer, and then played with the dog some because it's doggo break and you need to do that sometimes. Or if you have cats, cats work. Anyway, I've got the piece where I know it'll fit in. I've trimmed down that other peg so it slots in nicely, and then again I've just taped 2 wooden dowels with some painter's tape to this piece, and then I went outside. I want to talk real quick about what I used. I used a Rust-Oleum automotive primer after I'd done some sanding, 2 coats, filled in some of those print lines. I wasn't overly worried about it. And then this stuff, Montana Gold. I don't think I'll ever use another spray paint on models again, aside from Montana Gold. We're fortunate that we have a place around here that keeps a full stock of them for way cheaper than I've seen them online. That paint is money. I absolutely love it and recommend it. As you can see here, we are primed and painted. Everything's getting an extra dry, sitting on that radiator safely up on sticks, and 2 hours later, it is ready for work. So this paint is just sincerely awesome. I'm running my finger over it, and I'm scratching on it, going against the grain of the print, and it just came out great. So I get everything together, and I assembled it. I used super glue, Gorilla brand super glue, to bond the 2 pieces together, and then I'm using Liquitex heavy body silver paint, brushing it on to all the areas that need silver, and it's doing a really good job. I decided I wanted to stray a little bit away from the design that the theme park has, and I made my own stencil. Weathering is going to go over top of this, so I'm not overly concerned about the perfect nature of the squares, but I did my best with an X-Acto knife and some painter's tape. Sorry I went off camera a little bit. It is hard sometimes when I don't have the tripod set up to film this and also do the task, but there's how it looked. And yeah, I'm just dipping my brush in it, taking most of it off and tapping it on, and up and down stippling motion really quick. On the back of the tailgate here, I'm really laying it on heavy with heavy, stiff dabbing motions, just blotting it on there because I want it to dry with some texture to really pick up the grit and grime when I do washes on this part later. I'm also making sure to get into the recessed areas because I want those to really pick up some of the filth and grime from the washes when I'm done with this step. On the side panels, I used apple barrel ivory, and I brushed on a few coatings. I wanted to make sure it's good and thick because in the theme park it has this weird tan appearance, and I'll go over it with some washes too. Now I'm giving the model a once over to see all the areas where I want my grime and greasy wipe downs to sit. I added a little angular design of some of that heavy-bodied silver, did some of the buttons and the knobs based on the ones at the theme park to try and match up with those. And I'm just having a really good time doing this model. It's a good kit, it's a good way to spend a day kind of painting and just imagining how this would be in this world of Star Wars. I used some just regular apple barrel black paint and put it into the cracks, and then I used a wet shop rag to just wipe it away and let it sit in the recessed areas. And actually some of the areas I went over it 2 or 3 times just to give depth and shadow and make it a little bit more lived in because, hey, you know, it's Star Wars, and all those things in that universe rarely is anything new and shiny except for stormtroopers, and hey, those are the bad guys, right? So this is where I'm wrapping it up for today on the build. I've got my coffee, and we're just going to take a look at this. As you can see, I've done the black washes and wiping it away with the heavy paint, filled in some of the areas around the front engine with blacks just to add shadows, and then to show you, I did take a little rub and buff on some of the cables, and then I just used some of that golden raw sienna wash, acrylic wash, to go over those panels and give it that like aged old effect. I just used a nice brush, dipped it in, wiped it on there, let it sit for a bit, and then wiped it off on some of the higher spots so that it looks, you know, worn. And it does. It's definitely got that Star Wars read, and just I think the silver on the pipes really helps it stand out. Did a little bit of edge weathering, did some of the knobs, went over some of the silvers with rub and buff just to add depth and detail to the otherwise plain areas of the model. And this, it feels like a Star Wars vehicle to me. Now, I could just leave it plain, but I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to go into that in a minute, but I wanted to show you some of the accessories. Like I said, there's these little bottle holding ice patches with the sodas already sitting in them, which I think is super cool. And like I said, the little ice cubes are actually little clear plastic beads, and they both sit, they can be interchangeable to either side. They only sit one way vertically because they are rectangle and not square. The little racks, the holder racks, those are great. I stuck those in there to be, you know, holding up the ice cubes, and I'll be able to put those little bottles in there once they're painted, or have the figures holding them in a scene. Also, pay no mind to the cup in the background. I am totally not sponsored by White Castle, but if they wanted to send me some sliders, I wouldn't say no. Here's how it scales with Sabine Wren, and I actually wanted to sit a little bit higher. Looking at all the ones in the theme parks, it comes a little bit closer to waist height, so I have a solution for that I think is going to work out. My solution for this is to cut a dowel in half perfectly down the middle and lay it close to the center, away from all the edges, so that it looks like the piece is hovering. Also paint the bottom black so it really adds that shadow effect. it'll appear as though it's hovering off the ground just like it would in Star Wars. Now, you'll see I don't have an R unit that goes there. I think I'm going to do a custom R5, maybe do an R2 unit, I'm not sure. I want to make one of those stands that goes in the front of it. They seem to be a little bit different at each theme park and for each soda cart, so I've kind of got free reign for that. And also, as far as the logo goes, I'm going to make an insert there so I can put it in, but also swap it out for other ones. That'll be in the next video. So this is just part 1. Part 2 will be coming out in a couple of weeks, I hope. But I hope you guys do good. Have a good week. Too sweet me. Be well, guys. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for part 2, and if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Be well. Thanks.